Captain Kim Dae-ho opened his eyes slowly as the cold sleep pod made a soft hissing sound. The metal door slid open and warm air touched his face for the first time in 300 years. His body felt stiff and strange, like he had been sleeping. For a very long time, which he had the ship around him hummed quietly with the sound of machines working. He sat up carefully and looked around the large room filled with 50 sleeping pods just like his. Most of them were still closed, but a few had already opened. Other crew members were waking up and stretching their arms and legs. They all looked confused and tired, just like he felt. The computer voice spoke in clear Korean, filling the quiet room. Captain Kim, the ship has arrived at the target destination. Earth is directly ahead. The mission timer shows 312 years have passed since departure. All crew members are being awakened now. Kim Dae-ho stood up on shaky legs and walked to the nearest window. What he saw made him stop breathing for a moment. There in the black space ahead was a beautiful blue and green planet. Earth looked exactly like the pictures from the old history books, but something about it seemed different. Somehow the colors were brighter and cleaner than he remembered. His second-in-command, Lee Ba-or, rocked up beside him, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Captain," she said in a voice that was still rough from the long sleep, "are we really home?" Kim Dae-ho nodded slowly but kept staring at the planet. "Yes, Ba-or, we are home, but look closely at Earth. Does something seem strange to you, Lee?" Ba-or pressed her face against the window and studied the planet carefully. The oceans were deep blue, and the land masses were covered in green forests. She could see white clouds swirling around the planet in perfect patterns. After a few minutes, she gasped and pointed at space around Earth. "Captain, look there. Those are not natural objects." Kim Dae-ho followed her finger and saw what had made her so surprised. There were huge structures floating in space around Earth. They looked like giant cities or factories made of metal and glass. Some of them were spinning slowly, while others had bright lights blinking on their surfaces. These were definitely not there when they had left Earth 3 centuries ago. The rest of the crew had gathered around other windows, and they were all talking excitedly in worried voices. Chief Engineer Nam Jae-chul was pointing at his computer screen and shaking his head. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin was taking pictures of everything with her personal camera. Kim Dae-ho called everyone to attention. "Listen carefully, everyone. We knew Earth might have changed while we were gone, but this is more than we expected. Those structures in space mean humans survived and built amazing things while we were exploring." The Galaxy Navigation Officer Park Min-ho raised his hand. "Captain, the computer is picking up radio signals from Earth, but they are using technology that is much more advanced than what we had when we left. The signals are strong and coming from many different locations on the planet and from those space stations." Kim Dae-ho felt his heart beating faster. This was not what they had planned. Their mission had been simple: go to distant star systems, establish human colonies on new planets, and return to Earth with advanced technology that could help rebuild human civilization. They had spent 300 years traveling to 15 different worlds and had built successful colonies on 8 of them. Their ship, the New Hope, carried incredible inventions they had developed during their long journey. Machines that could cure any disease by rebuilding damaged cells, weapons that could destroy entire enemy fleets with beams of pure energy, computers that could think faster than human brains and solve problems that would take years for people to figure out. But most important of all, they had brought back detailed maps of the galaxy showing safe travel routes to hundreds of worlds where humans could build new homes. They had information about alien plants that could grow food in harsh climates and minerals that could be mined to build cities. They were supposed to be heroes returning with gifts that would save humanity now. As Kim Dae-ho looked at the clean, beautiful Earth with its mysterious space structures, he wondered if humanity had already saved itself. Communications Officer Lim Soo-jin called out from her station. "Captain, I am receiving a transmission from Earth. It is in Korean, but mixed with words I do not recognize. The signal is very strong and clear. Put it on the main speakers." Kim Dae-ho ordered. The bridge filled with a human voice speaking Korean, but the accent was strange, and some of the words were completely unfamiliar. "Unknown vessel approaching Earth. This is Space Traffic Control requesting immediate identification and purpose of visit. Please respond on emergency frequency 779." Kim Dae-ho looked at his crew and saw the same surprise on all their faces. "Space Traffic Control. That meant there was regular traffic to and from Earth ships coming and going like this was a normal busy place. Lee. Biora stepped forward. Captain, should we respond? They sound human, but something about their language is different. Kim Dae-ho thought carefully. They had weapons and shields that could protect them if this was a trap, but they had come here to help Earth, not fight against it. Yes, we will respond, but everyone stay at your stations and keep the weapons ready just in case. He walked to the communication station and spoke into the microphone. This is Captain Kim Dae-ho of the colony ship New Hope. We are a human vessel returning from a 300-year exploration mission. We request permission to approach Earth and share our discoveries with humanity. There was a long silence that made everyone on the bridge nervous. Finally, the voice from Earth responded, but now it sounded confused and maybe a little scared. Captain Kim, did you say the New Hope? That ship was launched in the year 2157 and was declared lost when no contact was received after 50 years. Our records show that mission has failed with all crew presumed dead. How can you be alive? The words hit Kim Dae-ho like a physical blow. Dead? They thought the crew was dead. How could they be dead when they were clearly alive and talking? Lee Biora grabbed his arm and whispered, Captain, that means they stopped looking for us. They gave up on all the colony ships. Kim Dae-ho felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. We are very much alive. Traffic control. We have spent 3 centuries exploring the galaxy. We have established successful human colonies on 8 worlds and developed technologies that could benefit all of humanity. We are not dead, and we are not failures. Another pause, then the voice returned, but now it was more official and careful. Captain Kim, I am transferring your communication to the Earth Defense Fleet. Commander Park Jin-woo will speak with you shortly. Please maintain your current position and do not approach Earth until you receive clearance. Earth Defense Fleet. Kim Dae-ho repeated, looking at his crew. That was definitely not something that existed when they left. Earth had always been peaceful with no need for military space forces. The crew waited in nervous silence until a new voice came over the speakers. This voice was deeper and more authoritative. This is Commander Park Jin-woo of the Earth Defense Fleet. Captain Kim, I need you to understand that Earth has changed dramatically since your departure. We have had contact with several alien species. Some came as friends, others tried to conquer us. We have learned to be very careful about ships returning from deep space, even human ships. Alien species. Kim Dae-ho felt the world spinning around him. They had traveled to the edges of known space and had only found empty worlds with no signs of intelligent life. But Earth had been contacted by aliens while they were gone. Commander Park continued, you will need to submit to a full inspection before we can allow you to approach Earth. This is for the safety of everyone involved. Do you agree to these terms, Kim? Dae-ho looked at his crew and saw fear and excitement mixed together on their faces. They had come home expecting to find a dying world that needed their help. Instead, they found a thriving civilization that had survived alien contact and built wonders in space. He pressed the communication button. We agree to your inspection, Commander Park, but we request permission to send a small team to Earth first. We need to see what humanity has become. There was another pause before Commander Park responded, very well. Captain, you may send a shuttle with 5 crew members to the surface. They will be met by our security forces and given a full briefing on current Earth conditions, but understand that you are guests here now. Earth is no longer the world you left behind. As Kim Dae-ho ended the communication, he looked out at the blue planet that had been their destination for so long. Earth was home, but it was also completely foreign now, and somewhere in the back of his mind a small voice whispered that maybe they were not the heroes returning with gifts. Maybe they were just strangers from the past, trying to find their place in a world that had moved on without them. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen, while his crew prepared for the inspection Commander Park Jin-woo had demanded. The past hour had been filled with nervous energy as everyone tried to understand what they might face on this new Earth. Suddenly, the ship's sensors started beeping loudly. Communications Officer Lim Soo-jin looked up from her station with wide eyes. Captain, there is a vessel approaching us fast, very fast. I have never seen anything move like this. Kim Dae-ho turned to look at the tactical display and felt his breath catch in his throat. A silver ship was racing toward them at incredible speed, but it was not flying like any spacecraft he had ever seen. Instead of the straight mechanical movement of human ships, this vessel seemed to flow through space like water moving around invisible obstacles. The ship itself was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Its surface was covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. The metal looked alive somehow, pulsing with soft lights that traveled along curves and spirals that made no sense according to human engineering. The entire craft was about half the size of the New Hope, but it radiated a sense of power that made Kim Dae-ho nervous. Chief Engineer Nam Ji-I-chul was staring at his instruments and shaking his head. Captain, that ship is not using any propulsion system. I can identify there are no engine exhaust signatures, no gravitational distortions, nothing that explains how it can move so fast and change direction so smoothly. The silver vessel came to a stop exactly 1 kilometer away from the New Hope, so precisely that it seemed impossible. It hung in space without any visible effort, maintaining perfect position relative to their ship. The communication system crackled to life, and Commander Park Jin-woo's voice filled the bridge. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Park Jin-woo aboard the Earth defense ship Silver Dawn. Please prepare to be boarded for inspection. Do not activate any weapon systems or attempt to move away from this position. Kim Dae-ho pressed the communication button. We understand, Commander Park. We will cooperate fully with your inspection. But I must ask, what kind of technology are you using? That ship does not look like anything humans could build with the science we knew. There was a pause before Park Jin-woo responded. Captain Kim, humanity has learned much in the past 3 centuries. We have had excellent teachers. The inspection team will board your ship in 10 minutes. Please gather your senior officers in your main meeting room. The communication ended, and Kim Dae-ho looked at his crew. Everyone seemed confused and worried. Lee Byora stepped closer to him and whispered, Captain, that ship is not entirely human. I can feel it somehow. It feels alien but also familiar, like it is part human and part something else. Before Kim Dae-ho could respond, Dr. Yoon Hae-jin called out from her science station. Captain, I am detecting strange energy readings from that ship. The power source is unlike anything in our databases, but there are some patterns that seem almost biological, as if the ship itself is partially alive. Navigation Officer Park Min-ho pointed at his screen. Captain, look at the whole markings on that ship. I can see Korean writing mixed with symbols that look like no human language I have ever seen. Kim Dae-ho studied the silver ship more carefully and saw that Park Min-ho was right. There were indeed Korean characters along the side of the vessel, but they were twisted and curved in ways that made them hard to read, mixed with flowing alien symbols that seemed to move when he was not looking directly at them. 10 minutes later, the New Hope's docking bay filled with a soft blue light, and 5 figures materialized out of nothing. Kim Dae-ho and his senior officers were waiting in the meeting room as requested, but they could see the arrival on the security monitors. The figures looked human at first glance, but as they moved toward the meeting room, Kim Dae-ho noticed that their movements were too smooth and graceful. They walked with a flowing motion that reminded him of the way their ship had moved through space. The meeting room door opened and Commander Park Jin-woo entered, followed by 4 other people. Kim Dae-ho stood up to greet them and immediately noticed that something was wrong with their appearance. Park Jin-woo looked like a normal Korean man in his 30s with black hair and brown eyes, but when he turned his head, Kim Dae-ho could see that his ears were slightly pointed and his eyes had an extra eyelid that flickered closed and open when he blinked. His skin had a faint silver tint that was only visible in certain light. The woman beside him was even more obviously changed. She had long black hair and a beautiful face, but her fingers were too long and ended in what looked like small claws. Her eyes were completely silver with no visible pupils, but she seemed to see everything perfectly. Welcome, Captain Kim, Park Jin-woo said, and his voice had a strange echo as if 2 people were speaking at the same time. We apologize for the dramatic arrival, but we needed to assess whether your ship posed any threat to Earth. Kim Dae-ho tried to hide his shock and confusion. These people were clearly human, but they had been changed in ways that seemed impossible. What has happened to humanity? He asked quietly. What have you become? The woman with silver eyes smiled, and when she did, Kim Dae-ho could see that her teeth were sharper than normal human teeth. My name is Dr. Kang Min-young, she said in a voice that sounded like music. I am the chief science officer. For this sector, to answer your question, Captain, we have become what we needed to become in order to survive, Park. Jin Woo gestured for everyone to sit down, Captain Kim. When humanity first encountered alien species 3 centuries ago, we faced a choice. We could remain exactly as we were and risk extinction, or we could adapt and evolve to meet the challenges of a much larger and more dangerous. Universally, Ba'ar leaned forward in her chair. Commander Park, are you saying that humans voluntarily changed themselves into something else? Another member of the inspection team spoke up. He looked mostly human except that his skin had a blue tint, and his hair seemed to move on its own even though there was no wind in the room. The changes were not voluntary at first, he said. Many humans died in the early contact wars some alien species tried to conquer Earth, and others brought diseases that human bodies could not fight. Dr. Kang Min-young continued. The survivors had to choose between death and transformation. Those who chose transformation were given genetic modifications that allowed them to survive alien diseases, communicate with non-human species, and live in environments that would kill unmodified humans. Kim Dae-ho felt sick too. His stomach. So humanity as we knew it no longer exists. Park Jin-woo's expression became serious. We are still human in all the ways that matter, Captain. We still love our families, create art and music, explore the unknown, and fight to protect what we believe in, but we have also gained abilities that make us stronger and more adaptable than pure humans could ever be. Inspection team spent the next several hours examining the New Hope and its cargo. They were amazed by the advanced technology Kim Dae-ho's crew had developed, but they also seemed sad about something. Finally, Dr. Kang Min-young pulled Kim Dae-ho aside. Captain, your crew represents the last group of genetically pure humans in this solar system. You are living examples of what humanity once was, and we respect that, but you need to understand that if you choose to stay on Earth, you will face some difficult decisions. What kind of decisions? Kim Dae-ho asked. The genetic modifications that allowed us to survive have made us incompatible with pure human genetics, she explained. If you and your crew want to have children who can survive on modern Earth, you will need to undergo the same modifications we did. If you refuse, your genetic line will end with your generation. Kim Dae-ho stared at her, feeling the weight of 3 centuries of human evolution pressing down on him. You are telling us that we must stop being human in order to remain part of humanity? Dr. Kang Min-young nodded sadly. That is exactly what I am telling you, Captain. The choice is yours, but you need to understand that the galaxy is a dangerous place for pure humans. You will need to evolve or find somewhere else to live as. The inspection team prepared to leave. Park Jin-woo handed Kim Dae-ho a small device. This will allow you to communicate directly with Earth Command, he said. Take your time to decide what you want to do. We will respect whatever choice you make. After the inspection team returned to their ship, Kim Dae-ho gathered his crew in the meeting room. Everyone looked shocked and confused by what they had learned. Chief Engineer Nam Ji-ishul spoke first. Captain, what are we going to do? We came here to save humanity, but humanity has already saved itself by becoming something else. Kim Dae-ho looked around the room at the faces of his crew. These 50 people were the last pure humans in the solar system, and possibly in the entire galaxy. They had spent 3 centuries exploring space to help their species, but now they discovered that their species no longer existed in the form they remembered. The question was whether they could accept becoming something new, or if they would choose to remain the last representatives of what humanity had once been. Captain Kim Dae-ho made his decision 3 days after the inspection. He would take a small team down to Earth to see for himself what humanity had become. Lee Beora volunteered immediately, along with Dr. Yoon Haijin, Chief Engineer Nam Ji-ishul, and Communications Officer Lim Soo-jin. Commander Park Jin-woo agreed to escort them personally, but warned that they would need to stay with their guides at all times. Earth has many wonders, he said, over the communication system, but it also has dangers that pure humans are not equipped to handle. The shuttle that came to collect them was unlike anything Kim Dae-ho had ever seen. It looked like it had been grown rather than built, with smooth curves and no visible joints or seams. The hull seemed to be made of the same living metal as the Silver Dawn, and it pulsed softly with internal light. Dr. Kang Min-young piloted the shuttle, and her movements were so smooth that Kim Dae-ho barely felt when they left the New Hope. The journey to Earth's surface took only 20 minutes, but it felt like traveling through a dream. As They descended through the atmosphere. Kim Dae-ho pressed his face against the window and gasped at what he saw. The earth below was more beautiful than anything. He had imagined the oceans were deep blue and so clear he could see the bottom even from high altitude. The land masses were covered in green forests that seemed to glow with their own inner light. The cities were the most amazing sight of all. They were huge sprawling metropolises that covered hundreds of square kilometers, but instead of the gray concrete and steel, Kim Dae-ho remembered these cities were alive with plant life. Massive trees grew through the centers of buildings, their branches forming natural bridges between structures. Rivers flowed through urban areas carrying clean water that sparkled like diamonds. Lee Beora pointed at a group of tall spires that twisted into the sky like giant vines. Captain, look at those towers. They are moving. The buildings are actually swaying in the wind like plants. Dr. Yoon Haijin was taking readings with her instruments. The air quality down there is perfect, she said in amazement. Better than any natural environment I have ever measured. The pollution levels are essentially zero. As they flew over what used to be Seoul, Kim Dae-ho could see people walking in parks and along tree-lined streets. But even from high altitude, he could tell that many of them were not entirely human. Some were too tall, others moved in ways that seemed impossible, and a few appeared to be floating just above the ground. The shuttle landed in what Dr. Kong Min-young called the cultural district. It was a beautiful area filled with gardens and artistic sculptures that seemed to change shape as they watched. A small group was waiting to greet them, and Kim Dae-ho felt his heart race when he saw them up close. The leader was a woman who looked about 30 years old, with long black hair and kind eyes, but her skin had a green tint like leaves, and when she smiled her teeth were perfectly white but shaped differently than normal human teeth. She wore clothing that seemed to be made of living fabric that shifted colors as she moved. Welcome to Earth, she said in perfect Korean. I am Choi Min-young, the cultural liaison for this sector. I am here to show you how humanity has adapted to our new world. Kim Dae-ho tried to hide his shock at her appearance, but Choi Min-young seemed to understand his reaction. Do not worry, Captain, she said gently. I know I look different from what you remember, but I am still human in all the ways that matter. I have a family, I love music and art, and I dream of exploring distant stars just like you do. As they walked through the city, Kim Dae-ho saw wonders that challenged everything he thought he knew about human civilization. The buildings were not just covered with plants, they were partially made of living organisms that grew and changed over time. Streets were paved with a material that felt soft under their feet but was strong enough to support heavy vehicles. Children played in parks, where human and alien youngsters ran together, laughing and speaking in languages that mixed Korean with sounds Kim Dae-ho had never heard. Some of the children could fly short distances, while others could change the color of their skin. Like chameleons. Dr. Yoon Haijin stopped to watch a group of teenagers playing a game that seemed to involve manipulating balls of light with their minds. How is this possible? She whispered. Choi Min-young smiled. The genetic modifications do more than just help us survive alien diseases, she explained. They also unlock human potential that was always there but never expressed. Many humans now have abilities that your generation would consider supernatural. They visited a school where human children learned alongside young aliens who looked like walking plants. Others resembled large cats that could speak perfect Korean, and some were completely made of what appeared to be living crystal. The teacher was a human woman, but her eyes glowed with soft blue light, and she could communicate with her alien students without speaking. In the afternoon, they toured a medical center where Kim Dae-ho watched doctors perform miracles. Patients with severe injuries were healed in minutes using techniques that combined human medicine with alien science. One doctor regrew a man's severed arm in less than an hour using a combination of genetic therapy and what looked like controlled plant growth. But as amazing as these sights were, Kim Dae-ho began to notice things that worried him. The humans he saw were all beautiful and healthy, but they moved with an inhuman grace. Their eyes reflected light strangely in dim areas, and many had marks on their skin that pulsed with their own inner illumination. During dinner at a restaurant that served food grown in vertical gardens inside the building, Choi Min-young explained more about Earth's transformation. The first alien contact happened about 200 years after your ship departed, she said. The gardeners arrived when Earth was dying from pollution and wore the Gardeners were peaceful beings who looked like walking trees they offered to help heal Earth's environment in exchange for human assistance in fighting a war against another alien species called the Devourers. The Devourers consumed entire planets, leaving nothing but empty space behind. Li Biora leaned forward. How did humans help fight beings that could destroy planets? Troy Min Young's expression became serious. The gardeners taught us that the universe is full of different forms of life, and that survival often requires adaptation. They offered genetic modifications that would make humans compatible with gardener biology. This allowed us to pilot their ships, use their weapons, and survive in space without protective suits. The modifications also made humans immune to most alien diseases and able to communicate telepathically with many species. Most importantly, they allowed humans to help terraform dead worlds and restore damaged ecosystems. Chief Engineer Nam Ji Aishal asked, but what was the cost? What did humanity have to give up? Choi Min Young was quiet for a long moment. We gave up genetic purity, she finally said. Modified humans can no longer reproduce with pure humans. Our children are something new, neither fully human nor fully alien, but carrying the best traits of both. Kim Dae-ho felt cold despite the warm evening air. So pure humanity is extinct, not extinct. Choi Min Young corrected, but no longer the dominant form of human life. There are still some pure human settlements on distant worlds, but they struggle to survive without the advantages that modification provides. That night in their guest quarters, Kim Dae-ho and his team discussed what they had seen. The buildings they stayed in were beautiful structures that seemed to be grown from giant coral formations. The walls glowed softly, providing perfect light, and the temperature was always comfortable. Dr. Yoon Hai-jin was studying readings from her instruments. Captain, the environmental data is incredible. Earth's ecosystem is healthier now than it has been in thousands of years. The air is clean, the water is pure, and the biodiversity is amazing. They have not just survived, they have created paradise. But Li Biora was less impressed. It is beautiful, she said, but is it still Earth? The people we met today are wonderful, but are they still human? They think differently, move differently, and see the world in ways we cannot understand. Communications. Officer Lim Soo-jin had been unusually quiet all day, but finally spoke up. I have been listening to their communications and entertainment broadcasts, she said. The language has evolved dramatically. It is still based on Korean, but includes thousands of words borrowed from alien languages. Some concepts they discuss have no equivalent in pure human thought. Kim Dae-ho stared out the window at the city below. Lights moved in patterns that were beautiful but alien, and he could hear music that combined human melodies. What sounds no human throat could make. It was a magnificent civilization, but it was no longer the humanity he had known. The question that haunted him was whether this transformation was humanity's greatest achievement, or its final surrender to forces beyond human control, and more importantly, what place could 50 pure humans have in this new world? Captain Kim Dae-ho woke on his third morning on Earth to find Choi Min Young waiting outside his guest quarters. She looked more serious than usual, and her skin had shifted to a deeper green color that he had learned indicated worry among the modified humans. Captain, she said, we have been invited to address the Planetary Council today. They want to hear about your discoveries and discuss your future here on Earth. Kim Dae-ho felt nervous about meeting Earth's leaders, but he knew this conversation was necessary. His crew needed to understand exactly what choices they faced. The shuttle ride to the council chamber took them over landscapes that were even more beautiful than the cities. Rolling hills covered in silver grass that moved like waves in the wind, forests filled with trees that grew in perfect spirals, their leaves changing colors in complex patterns. Lakes so clear they looked like mirrors reflecting alien constellations that were somehow visible during the day. The council chamber itself was the most amazing building Kim Dae-ho had ever seen. It looked like it had been grown from the inside of a massive shell, with walls that curved and flowed like frozen water. The ceiling was transparent, showing the sky above, but somehow also displaying images of distant stars and planets inside. The chamber, Kim Dae-ho saw beings that challenged his understanding of what was possible. The council members sat in chairs that molded themselves to fit each person's unique body shape. Some of the counselors looked almost human, while others were clearly something else entirely. The council leader was a woman named Yang, So Young, who appeared to be in her 40s with silver hair that moved like it was underwater when she spoke. Her voice had musical qualities that made Kim Dae-ho feel calm and worried at the same time. Captain Kim Dae-ho, she began, welcome to the Planetary Council. We have studied the reports of your 300-year journey and we are impressed by your achievements. 8 successful colonies established on distant worlds, advanced medical technology that could benefit countless beings, detailed star maps that show safe passage to hundreds of new worlds. Kim Dae-ho stood and bowed respectfully. Council Leader Yang, we offer all our discoveries freely to Earth and humanity. We came home to share what we learned and to help rebuild our species. Yang So-young smiled, but her expression was sad. Captain, you speak of rebuilding humanity, but humanity has already been rebuilt. The question now is whether you and your crew can accept what we have become. Another council member spoke. This one looked mostly human except that his skin appeared to be made of moving water. Captain Kim, when the Great Wars nearly destroyed our species, after your departure the survivors faced extinction. Our population had fallen to less than 50 million. People worldwide, most major cities were ruins, and the environment was so damaged that normal human life was no longer possible. A third counselor continued. Her appearance was the most alien, yet with skin that looked like tree bark and eyes that glowed with soft green light. The gardeners offered us a choice: die as pure humans or survive as something new. Most chose survival, but the transformation was not easy. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin leaned forward. What exactly do you mean by transformation? Yang So-young gestured, and the air above the council table filled with holographic images showing human DNA being combined with genetic material from various alien species. The process begins with viral vectors that rewrite human genetic code, she explained. The changes happen over several months, during which the subject experiences physical and mental alterations. The images showed humans growing taller and stronger, their senses becoming more acute, their healing abilities increasing dramatically. But the images also showed other changes: skin color shifting, hair becoming more like plant fibers, eyes developing additional layers that could see different types of light. The most significant changes are mental. Yang So-young continued. Modified humans can communicate telepathically with many alien species. We can process information much faster than pure humans. And we have intuitive understanding of biological and ecological systems that takes pure humans years to learn. Lee Bi-ora asked the question that Kim Dae-ho was afraid to voice. What have you lost? The council chamber fell silent. Yang So-young's expression became deeply sad. We have lost our genetic compatibility with pure humans, she said quietly. Modified humans cannot produce viable offspring with unmodified humans. Any children from such unions are born sterile and usually die young. The water-skinned counselor added, we have also lost some of our emotional range. Modified humans experience love and joy and sadness, but we no longer feel anger or hatred the way pure humans do. This makes us more peaceful, but some say it makes us less human. Kim Dae-ho felt the world spinning around him. So if my crew chooses to remain pure human, our genetic line ends with us. Yang So-young nodded. That is correct, Captain. But if you choose modification, you and your crew could have children who would be part of the new human species. You would lose your genetic purity, but gain abilities that would allow you to thrive in the modern galaxy. Chief Engineer Nam Jae-shal spoke up. What about the colonies we established? Are there other pure humans out there? The tree-like counselor answered, we have maintained contact with some of the human colonies established by other ships. Several have thrived and remain genetically pure, but they face constant struggles. They cannot easily travel between star systems. They are vulnerable to alien diseases, and they have difficulty establishing trade relationships with other species. Lee Bi-ora asked, how many pure humans exist in the galaxy? Yang So-young consulted a holographic display. Our best estimates suggest there are approximately 2 million pure humans scattered across 43 colony worlds. Your crew of 50 represents the last pure humans in this solar system. The weight of this revelation hit Kim Dae-ho like a physical blow. His crew were not just the last pure humans on Earth, they were among the last pure humans anywhere. They carried the original human genetic code in a galaxy that had moved beyond the need for ITDR. Yoon Hae-jin asked, what happens to pure human colonies over Time the water counselor's expression was grim. Most struggle for a few generations, then either accept modification or gradually decline. Pure humans have shorter lifespans in space, are more vulnerable to cosmic radiation, and cannot easily adapt to alien environments. Some colonies have thrived for centuries, but they remain isolated from galactic civilization. Yang So Young stood and walked closer to Kim Dae-ho. Captain, we are not asking you to make this decision immediately. Take time to discuss with your crew, consider your options carefully, but understand that if you choose to remain pure human, you will need to leave Earth eventually. Kim Dae-ho felt anger rising in his chest. Why must we leave? This is our home planet. The tree counselor's voice was gentle but firm. Modified and pure humans cannot coexist long-term on the same world. Our biological requirements are too different. Our social structures have evolved in separate directions, and our children cannot interbreed. The presence of pure humans on Earth would create genetic and cultural problems for future generations. Yang So Young added, however, if you choose modification, you would be welcome to stay. Your crew's knowledge and experience would be invaluable to our society. We would be honored to have you join us as full members of the new human species. That evening, back in their guest quarters, Kim Dae-ho's crew gathered to discuss what they had learned. The mood was somber as everyone struggled with the implications of their situation. Communications Officer Lim Soo-jin was the first to speak. Captain, we have three choices: undergo modification and stop being pure human, stay pure and leave Earth to find other human colonies, or stay pure and watch our genetic line die out on Earth. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin looked at her medical readings of the modified humans. I have been studying their biology, she said. The modifications are irreversible. Once the process begins, there is no way to return to pure human genetics. Chief Engineer Nam Ji-chul paced back and forth. The technology they have developed is incredible, he said, but it requires modified biology to operate effectively. Pure humans cannot interface with their computers, pilot their ships, or use most of their medical equipment. Lee Bio-ra stared out the window at the beautiful alien city. We came here as heroes bringing gifts to save humanity, she said quietly. Instead, we find that humanity saved itself by becoming something else. The question is whether we can accept that this is evolution, or if we believe something precious has been lost. Kim Dae-ho looked around at his crew, 50 people who had sacrificed everything to explore the galaxy for the good of humanity. They had spent 3 centuries in cold sleep, traveled to distant stars, and established colonies on alien worlds, all so they could return home with the knowledge needed to save their species. Now, they discovered that their species had already been saved, but the cost was becoming something that was no longer entirely human. The pure human genome they carried was precious, but perhaps also obsolete in a galaxy filled with wonders and dangers beyond human imagination. The choice before them would determine not just their own fate, but potentially the future of pure humanity itself. Captain Kim Dae-ho could not sleep that night. The guest quarters provided by Earth's government were beautiful and comfortable, but they felt like a prison. The walls were made of living coral that glowed softly in the darkness, and the floor was covered with moss that felt warm under his feet, but every surface reminded him that he was in an alien world. Even though it was supposed to be his home. At midnight, he heard a soft knock on his door. Lee Bio-ra entered quietly, followed by the other senior officers. They all looked as troubled as he felt. Captain Lee Bio-ra whispered, we need to talk, but not here. The walls might be listening. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin held up a small device. I have been scanning our quarters. This building is filled with biological sensors that can detect our heartbeat, breathing patterns, and even stress hormones. They know everything we do and feel. Kim Dae-ho nodded and gestured for everyone to follow him. They walked quietly through the building's corridors, past walls that pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns. The architecture was beautiful, but alien, with curves and angles that made no sense according to human engineering principles. They found a small garden area outside where alien plants created a natural privacy screen. Chief Engineer Nam Ji-chul activated a white noise generator from his toolkit to mask their conversation. Captain Nam Ji-chul said, his voice barely audible, we cannot stay here. If we undergo their modifications, we will no longer be human. If we refuse, our genetic line dies with us. There has to be another option. Communications Officer Lim Soo-jin leaned closer. I have been monitoring their communication networks. She said the modified humans talk about pure humans the way we might discuss an extinct species, something interesting but no longer relevant to the modern world. Li Beora paced back and forth between the alien plants. Captain, we did not spend 3 centuries in space just to surrender our humanity at the end. We are explorers, pioneers. We should be looking for solutions, not accepting defeat. Dr. Yun Haijin pulled out her tablet and showed them star charts. What about the other colony ships, she asked. We were not the only ones sent out. There were dozens of missions, maybe hundreds. Some of them must have found suitable planets and established pure human settlements. Iho felt a spark of hope for the first time in days. That is right, the colony program sent out over 90 ships to different sectors of the galaxy. Some of those missions must have succeeded in creating thriving, pure human civilizations. HFY studied the star charts. According to our original mission files, there were supposed to be regular check-ins between colony ships and periodic returns to Earth for resource sharing and information exchange. But Earth stopped monitoring those missions centuries ago. Lim Sujin's eyes brightened. Captain, if there are pure human colonies out there, they need to know what happened to Earth. They need to be warned that returning home means being forced to choose between genetic modification and extinction. Kim Daeho looked around at his crew and saw determination replacing despair on their faces. You are suggesting we leave Earth and search for other pure human settlements? Li Beora nodded. We could become messengers traveling between pure human colonies, sharing technology and information. We could help coordinate a network of unmodified human settlements across the galaxy. Dr. Yun Haijin added, our ship carries advanced medical technology that could help pure human colonies overcome the health challenges they face in alien environments. We have genetic samples from Earth that could be used to prevent inbreeding problems in small populations. Nam Jiaichul was getting excited. The New Hope also carries manufacturing equipment that could help establish industries on colony worlds. We have detailed surveys of hundreds of planets, including many that would be suitable for pure human settlement. But Lim Sujin looked worried. Captain, there is one major problem. Our ship is being held at an Earth orbital facility for inspection. Getting back to it means stealing a shuttle and fighting our way through Earth's defense systems. Kim Daeho thought about the implications. They would essentially be declaring war on Earth, not the dying planet they had left, but a thriving interstellar civilization with advanced technology and alien allies. Are we really prepared to fight against Earth? He asked quietly. Li Beora's voice was firm. Captain, we would not be fighting against Earth. We would be fighting for the preservation of original humanity. Earth has chosen its path, and we respect that, but pure humans deserve to choose their own path. Nam Jiaichul agreed. The modified humans think they are doing us a favor by offering genetic alteration, but they are really asking us to commit species suicide. Pure humanity has survived for millions of years by being adaptable, not by becoming something else entirely. Dr. Yun Haijin looked at her medical readings of the modified humans. I have been studying their biology and psychology. She said the modifications do more than just change their bodies. They alter the way they think and feel. Modified humans are more logical and peaceful, but they have lost some of the emotional intensity that drives human creativity and ambition. She continued, what we call human stubbornness and independence they see as primitive traits to be eliminated, but those same traits are what allowed humans to survive ice ages, disasters, and countless challenges throughout history. Kim Daeho realized his crew was right. The modified humans of Earth were wonderful beings, but they were no longer the same species that had built cities, crossed oceans, and reached for the stars with nothing but determination and primitive technology. Captain Lim Sujin said, I have been analyzing Earth's communication networks. I think I can create a distraction that will allow us to reach our ship. The modified humans have never dealt with pure human tactics because they think in more cooperative ways. Li Beora smiled for the first time in days. They expect us to be reasonable and accept their logical arguments, but humans have never been entirely reasonable. That is both our weakness and our strength. Nam Jiaichul was already planning we would need to split into 2 groups. One team creates a distraction while the other reaches the orbital facility. The New Hope still has all our advanced weapon systems. Earth ships are more maneuverable. but our firepower is 3 centuries more advanced than anything they had when we left Dr. Yunhaijin looked concerned, but Captain, if we fight Earth's forces, people will be hurt. We cannot kill modified humans just because they are no longer pure human. They are still our genetic cousins. Kim Dae-ho nodded. We disable their ships but do not destroy them. We use minimum force necessary to escape. We are not conquerors or destroyers. We are preservationists trying to save something precious over. The next few hours they developed their plan. Lee Bio-ra would lead a team that pretended to be interested in the genetic modification process. This would draw Earth's scientists and security forces to the medical facilities while Kim Dae-ho and the others stole a shuttle. The plan was risky and would essentially make them fugitives from Earth, but as Kim Dae-ho looked at his crew, he realized they were not just 50 people anymore. They were the carriers of pure human genetics and culture. They had a responsibility to preserve what original humanity had been. Lim Soo-jin interrupted his thoughts. Captain, I have been thinking about what Dr. Kang Min-young told us about pure human colonies struggling to survive. What if we could create a network that connects all the pure human settlements? We could share resources, coordinate research, and help each other overcome the challenges of living in alien environments. Lee Bio-ra added, we could become the first pure human alliance, a civilization that spans multiple star systems but maintains genetic and cultural continuity. Nam Ji-shul was excited by the possibilities. With our advanced technology, we could help establish new colonies on suitable worlds. We could ensure that pure humanity not only survives but thrives across the galaxy. Dr. Yunhaijin smiled. Earth chose to evolve by mixing with alien species, but we can show that pure humans can also evolve by becoming better at being human. Kim Dae-ho felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. They were not failures returning home to a world that no longer needed them. They were pioneers about to begin humanity's greatest adventure, the exploration and settlement of the galaxy by a species determined to remain true to its origins while adapting to whatever challenges space could offer. Tomorrow they would begin their escape from Earth and start their journey to find and unite the scattered pure human colonies. But tonight, for the first time since arriving home, Kim Dae-ho felt proud of his crew and hopeful about the future. They were about to become something new, not through genetic modification, but through pure human determination and the courage to forge their own path among the stars. Captain Kim Dae-ho woke before dawn on what would be their last day on Earth. The plan was simple but dangerous, and everything depended on timing and the hope that Earth's modified humans would not expect pure humans to act with such desperate determination. Lee Bio-ra had spent the previous evening convincing Dr. Kang Min-young that several crew members were interested in learning more about the genetic modification process. The modified humans were so eager to help pure humans evolve that they had arranged for a full demonstration at the main biological research facility. This would draw Earth's best scientists and security personnel away from the orbital facility where the New Hope was being held. At exactly noon, Lee Bio-ra led 20 crew members to the research facility, acting excited about the possibility of genetic enhancement. Dr. Kang Min-young and her team welcomed them warmly, completely unaware that this was a distraction. The modified humans could not imagine that anyone would reject the gift of evolution they were offering. Meanwhile, Kim Dae-ho and the remaining crew members made their way to the shuttle landing area near their guest quarters. Communications officer Lim Soo-jin had hacked into Earth's transportation network and requisitioned a cargo shuttle supposedly for a routine supply run to the orbital stations. The shuttle pilot was a modified human named Young Ki-tae, whose skin had a blue metallic sheen and whose eyes could see across multiple light spectrums. He seemed friendly and helpful, completely trusting that pure humans would not attempt anything deceptive. Captain, Kim Young Ki-tae said as they boarded the shuttle, I understand you want to collect some equipment from your ship before making your decision about modification. That is very wise. It is important to preserve your discoveries for future generations. Kim Dae-ho felt guilty about deceiving this kind being, but reminded himself that they were fighting for the survival of pure humanity. Thank you for your help, he said. We appreciate Earth's hospitality. The flight to the orbital facility took 30 minutes, and Kim Dae-ho used the time to study Earth space defenses. Through the shuttle windows there were dozens of ships patrolling the area around the planet, but they moved in predictable patterns designed to intercept external threats, not internal ones. The orbital facility where the New Hope was docked was massive, a sprawling complex of interconnected modules and docking bays. It housed hundreds of ships from Earth's fleet, as well as vessels belonging to various alien species. Some of the alien ships looked like living creatures, while others appeared to be made of pure energy contained in geometric force fields. Young Ki-tae docked their shuttle in a cargo bay near where the New Hope was being held. "Captain Kim," he said, "your ship is in Bay 17, just a short walk from here. The inspection teams have been very impressed with your technology. They say it represents a remarkable achievement for pure human engineering." Kim Dae-ho thanked the pilot and led his crew toward Bay 17, but as soon as Young Ki-tae was out of sight, they changed direction. Chief Engineer Nam Ji-chul had studied the facility's layout and knew exactly how to reach their ship. The corridors of the orbital facility were filled with beings from dozens of different species. Kim Dae-ho saw the tree-like gardeners walking alongside humans whose skin rippled like water. Others looked like giant insects that communicated through patterns of light across their shells. The diversity was amazing, but it made Kim Dae-ho feel like pure humans were primitive relics in a galaxy that had moved beyond the need for unmodified biology. They reached Bay 17 without being challenged. The New Hope sat in the center of the huge docking bay, surrounded by Earth inspection equipment and monitoring devices. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin quickly disabled the external sensors. While Nam Ji-chul began the ship's startup sequence, Captain Lim Soo-jin called from the communication station. "I am receiving an urgent message from Liba Ora. The research facility team is asking detailed questions about our ship's location. They are becoming suspicious." Kim Dae-ho realized they had very little time before Earth's forces discovered what they were doing. All crew members returned to stations immediately. He ordered prepare for emergency departure. The New Hope's engines came online with a deep thrumming sound that echoed through the docking bay. Immediately alarms began sounding throughout the orbital facility, and Kim Dae-ho could see security teams running toward their location. Navigation Officer Park Min-ho called out, "Captain, Earth defense ships are moving to intercept us. I count 12 vessels approaching fast." Kim Dae-ho took his position in the captain's chair and looked around at his crew. They were about to fight against Earth itself, but their faces showed determination, not fear. These 50 people were the last pure humans in the solar system, and they were not going to surrender their genetic heritage without a fight. Launch. Immediately, he ordered the New Hope burst out of the docking bay and accelerated toward open space, but Earth's ships were already moving to surround them. The modified human vessels were incredibly fast and agile, dancing through space with the flowing grace Kim Dae-ho had seen before. Commander Park Jin-woo's voice filled the bridge over the communication system. "Captain Kim, you are making a terrible mistake. Return to the facility immediately. You cannot survive in the galaxy as pure humans." Kim Dae-ho activated the ship's weapon systems, feeling the familiar weight of command. "During combat, Commander Park, we respect Earth's choice to evolve through genetic modification, but pure humanity has the right to choose its own path." The first Earth ship opened fire, but the energy beams were designed to disable, not destroy. The modified humans were still trying to save Kim Dae-ho's crew even as they fought against them. This restraint was both touching and tactically useful. Chief Weapons Officer Han Dong-min had been waiting for this moment. "Captain, our weapons are 3 centuries more advanced than anything Earth had when we departed. They cannot match our firepower. Fire on the lead ships." Kim Dae-ho ordered, "but disable only, do not destroy. We are not murderers." The New Hope's advanced energy cannons struck 3 Earth vessels simultaneously, overloading their power systems and leaving them drifting helplessly. The remaining ships scattered in surprise, clearly not expecting such overwhelming firepower from what they considered a primitive, pure human vessel. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin called from her station, "Captain, I am detecting massive energy buildup from the planetary surface. They are preparing to launch something big on the main screen." Kim Dae-ho saw a beam of pure white light rising from Earth's surface. It struck one of the disabled ships and instantly repaired all damage. The vessel immediately resumed its attack approach. Nam Gi Chul studied his instruments. Captain, that is some kind of restoration beam. It can repair ships faster than we can disable them. We need to leave Earth's orbital space immediately. Kim Dae-ho realized they were facing technology beyond anything his crew could handle. The combination of Earth and alien science had created capabilities that pure human engineering could not match. Set course for the outer system, he ordered maximum acceleration. The New Hope accelerated away from Earth, but the pursuing ships matched their speed easily. Commander Park. Jinwoo's voice returned, sounding sad rather than angry. Captain Kim, you are condemning your crew to a difficult life in the deep galaxy. Pure humans face challenges you cannot imagine. Disease, radiation, genetic drift, and isolation from galactic civilization. Please reconsider for a moment. Kim Dae-ho almost wavered. The modified humans were offering safety, security, and a place in Earth's advanced civilization. All his crew had to do was surrender their genetic purity and accept transformation into something new. Then he looked around the bridge at his crew and saw the same determination in their eyes that had carried them through 3 centuries of exploration. These were the people who had established 8 successful colonies on alien worlds, who had developed medical technology that could cure any disease, who had mapped safe routes to hundreds of star systems. Dar Yun Haijin spoke quietly. Captain, I have been analyzing the modification process. The changes are not just physical, they alter human psychology in ways that eliminate what the modified humans call negative emotions, but anger, fear, and desperation are also the emotions that drive humans to attempt impossible things. She continued, if we accept modification, we will become wiser, more peaceful, and better adapted to galactic civilization, but we will also lose the stubborn refusal to accept defeat that makes humans attempt crazy things like exploring unknown galaxies. Communications Officer Lim Soo-jin added, Captain, I have been monitoring communications between the pursuing ships. They genuinely cannot understand why we would choose difficulty over improvement to them. We are being irrational. Lee Byura's voice came over the internal communication system from the research facility. Captain, the distraction team is ready for extraction, but Earth forces are moving to prevent our escape. Kim Dae-ho made his decision. All ships, this is Captain Kim Dae-ho. We are leaving Earth to find and unite the pure human colonies scattered across the galaxy. Any crew member who wishes to remain on Earth and accept genetic modification may transfer to an Earth vessel. Now he paused, waiting, but no one moved. Every member of his crew had made the same choice to remain genetically human regardless of the cost. Very well, he said, weapons prepared to clear a path to the research facility. We are collecting our people and leaving. The battle that followed was brief but intense. The New Hope fought its way through Earth's defensive